The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. We would like now to hand over to the prosecution to put questions to this witness.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I'd like to turn now to some questions about the process by which military cadres were disciplined or purged, and who was responsible and had authority for such matters. And I want to start by referring you to your second OCIJ statement, where you describe a telegram that you were shown by the Division Secretary Saroon while you were in Phnom Penh. This is document E384, and the quote comes from Khmer 00398513, English 00408395 to 96, and French 00434422 through 23. Quote, while I was studying in Phnom Penh, there was a telegram from the office of Brigade 801 in Vun Sai, which was my unit, sent to my brigade chief, Su Saroon, which said that Khao Saroon had committed a moral offense with Neri Hang, who was in charge of transportation. End of quote. And then you are asked how Division Secretary Saroon received this telegram, and you responded as follows, quote, Su Saroon showed it to me. I just knew a piece of its content. Su Saroon took that telegram from his pocket and showed it to me and said that Office 870 had delivered it to him. End of quote. My first question is, can you tell us who Khao Saroon was and what position he held in Division 801?
Response. Khao Saroon was the head of 801, rather of Regiment 8T1 of 801. And in the report concerning Su Saroon that he had committed a moral offense, at that time he was no longer in the regiment. He was member of the division committee at that time. He had left us.
What were moral offenses, and do you recall what the moral offense that Khao Saroon was accused of?
Response. Moral offense was already mentioned that he had this problem with Neri Heng, as you already quoted, and the message was submitted from the division. It was not sent from 81.
In the same interview at Khmer page 00398-514, English 4083 396 and French 434, 423. You were then asked why Office 870 was involved in telegram communications regarding Khao Saroon committing a moral offense. And you made the following statement, quote, "As I observed, the issue concerning such discipline had to go through Office 870. And continuing later, quote, "As far as I know, the high-ranking people, such as the Central Committee or Committee 870, generally discussed the emerging problems and then made a decision." End of quote. What was the reason for your belief that high-ranking people were involved in decisions regarding cadres accused of misconduct like Khao Saroon?
Response. The commander or the secretary of the division who had to come to Phnom Penh to study, he or she could come through to those sessions only through the radio communication from 870. And the reason that I said Khao Saroon could have been arrested because he used to say that he had problems with moral misconduct. And during that time, everyone knew that if people could not refrain from committing moral offense, then they could not avoid being arrested if he or she is found to have committed such offense.
Mr. President, I'd like to witness another document now that makes reference to Khao Saroon, and this is document E3/806, and it is the minutes of a 16 December 1976 meeting between Division 801 and Brother 89. If I may present that document to the witness.
The President, you may proceed. Court officer, please bring the document from the prosecution to the witness.
Mr. Witness, these are the minutes of a meeting that was held on the 16th of December 1976 involving Division 801. And if you look at item 3 of the agenda, for this meeting is problems of Comrade Khao Saroon. And if you also look at the very end of the document, in the section of comments from Brother 89, it is stated, quote, "As for the problem of Comrade Khao Saroon, leave him as is for the time being," end of quote. My first question to you about this document, the individuals who are listed as representing Division 801 at this meeting are a Comrade Soon and a Comrade T. Do you recall who these persons were and what their positions were in Division 801?
Response: I do not know these people.
Do you recall a person named Sun who served as the deputy of Regiment 82, your regiment, for a period?
Response: Yes, I do.
Do you have any knowledge whether the problems regarding Khao Saroon that were discussed at this meeting were the moral offenses that we were talking about a few minutes ago?
Response: I already mentioned about the incidents in which Kao Sarun was involved. I came to attend the study session, and after that I fell sick. I did not know what happened to Kao Sarun.
Mr. Witness, can you tell us, did Division 801 report on misconduct of cadres, such as Khao Saroon's moral offenses, to the general staff, either in reports or meetings such as this one?
Response: This telegram was sent from Office 870. I believe that 05 could have brought the telegram to the upper echelon, and a copy was made for me.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'd like now to show the witness two reports that were sent by Division 801 to Brother 89. One dated 24 March 1977, which is document E3/1061, and another report that was sent on the 29th of March 1977, which is document E3/1060, E3/1060. If I may present those documents to the witness.
The President, you may proceed. Court officer, please bring the document from the prosecution to the witness.
The first thing I'd like you to do with these two reports, Mr. Witness, is to look at the signatures at the end of the reports. And can you identify for us who it was that signed and sent these two reports, E3/1061 and E3/1060?
Response: I look at the signature. It reads Comrade Ruan, who was also the secretary of a division.
Do you recognize Division Secretary Saroon's signature?
Response: Yes, I do. I do recognize his signature.
Both of these reports also contain some handwritten annotations at the top left of the first page of each document. Annotations indicating that the document was forwarded to Ankara. Can you tell us if you recognize the handwriting of the person who forwarded these reports on to Ankara?
Response: I'm afraid I do not recognize such writing.
I have a couple of questions regarding the contents of these reports, starting with the E31061, which is the 24 March 1977 report. And if you could look at Section 3 of that report. In that section, Division Secretary Saroon reports on the capture of 7 Yuan and their responses. My question for you is, can you tell us who was responsible for conducting interrogations of Vietnamese soldiers or spies who were captured by Division 801?
Response: As I stated before the co-investigating judges, the arrests of the Vietnamese were never made under my unit or at my division. I could not say what happened to other divisions, and I do not know where or to whom these individuals could have been sent to.
Okay, if you could turn to the other document, which is E3/1060, and it is the 29 March 1977 report from Saroon to Brother 89. And Section 1 of this report is titled Situation of the Enemy, and in it, Division Secretary provides a fairly detailed and lengthy report on enemy incidents in the base, including sectors 107, 101, and 104. My question for you is, do you have any understanding or knowledge of how Division Secretary Saroon was able to report about the enemy situation in the base? Do you know from whom he received such information?
Response: I mentioned earlier that my regiment was far away from other regiments, and that what happened under the responsible of any respective regiment, that regiment would have to report to the upper echelon. And having looked at this annotation, I believe that it could not belong to that of Su Saroon, because I used to know his style of writing.
If you could turn to the last section of the report, which is titled Miscellaneous. You'll find that on Khmer page 00231-375. And I want to direct you to paragraph 1 of the miscellaneous section, which states as follows, quote, "Situation at Sim Pang base was not unusual, although there were some noticeable observations at the base. For instance, it was agreed earlier that at complex places, the Army should go to meet with the people to help control people." End of quote. First, Mr. Witness, the Sim Pang base was part of your operations. Is that correct?
Response. When I was there at Simpang, there was no complicated things. There was no problems or clashes with the people or the Vietnamese. And nothing happened as indicated in the document as yet.
Is it possible then that at the time this report was sent on the 29th of March 1977 that you had already left Sim Pang as of this date?
Response. Yes, it is. Because if I were there, I would have known what happened. And so far, we paid greater attention to the border situation, and nothing's changed. So I can say that what happens in the report did not happen during the time when I was there.
If you could look at paragraph 3 on the same page. In that paragraph, Division Secretary Saroon reports on a problem in Sector 101, stating, quote, "When enemy was arrested or handed over by the Army, the enemy was smashed immediately without any interrogation to search for the strings, making the loss of the enemy trace." And then continuing on, quote, "However, I have already met and talked about this issue with Comrade Tin." My first question, do you know whether, as of the date of this document, was Comrade Tin still with Division 801, or had he moved on to his position in Sector 101, which you talked about in your OCIJ statement?
Response. I know that he was in 801, Unit 83. Later on, he was assigned as the head of sector in Vern Sai. I heard the secretary of my division talked about the reason he had to be moved to that location, because he told us that Thân was of Tumpun ethnic minority and that he would be best to be located there.
Can you tell us whether it was a policy in the Democratic Kampuchea military that captured or arrested enemies had to be interrogated first to search for their strings or networks before they could be smashed.
Response. I do not believe I understand this. I do not understand about the arrests or the policy to interrogate people who had been arrested. Perhaps people could have been tortured upon being arrested. That's why such information was spread out. I have had no information of any arrest. The only thing I learned about it is that people kept disappearing. But it happened only in other units. In my unit, all my men remained with me all along. And but when I came to Mundulkiri, people asked and we exchanged during the talk to learn that people kept disappearing.
Thank you. If you could turn the last part of this document I want to ask you about is paragraph 5 on the same page, near the very end of the document, where Division Secretary Saroon reports, quote, "Situation at units. We were following the trail of both new and old elements destroying the revolution. Those targets included those going against the revolutionary line and those newly and previously implicated by the enemy." End of quote. In regards to the reference to revolutionary line, you mentioned a little while ago how Division Secretary Saroon came and instructed on the party lines. Were the party lines the same thing as the revolutionary line that's referred to here?
In fact, the definition is one and the same. However, in practice, when it comes to this principle, the practice was sometimes inconsistent with the party's line, because there were distractions as well.
Were persons who opposed the revolutionary line considered enemies of the regime?
In fact, I could only say what happened in my unit. After I recovered from my fever and returned to Bang Konsai area in Ban Lung, and prior to that, even while I was at Burnside, I did not know about the security issue or how people had been arrested. I was advised to return to assist the work in the unit, and I was not assigned to go to Simpang. Upon I got off the plane, I was placed to work in the area at Bang Konsai. And only later I knew that there was a security or prison in Bangkonsai area was through the people who live near the prison or the security center, because 2 or 3 of their children who were starving while working in the cooperative decided to steal potato, and then they were arrested and taken to the security center, and that's how I learned of its existence. And later on, one day, prisoners broke out of the prison at Bangkonsai, and then I learned that there was a security center within the division. And people actually came to me to request me to resolve their children's issues. And when 05 arrived at Bangkonsai, I reported to him about the issue. That was in regard to about 20 people who stole potatoes, and I thought for his opinion. And then he decided to release those people, and there were about 20 of them at a time. So to sum up the event, I learned of the existence of the prison through these events. And for that reason, I learned that people disappeared because there was a security center or a prison, and they were taken there. And when I was assigned to go to Bangkonsai area, I did not engage in any specific task.
Turning back to paragraph 5 of this document, there is a reference also to persons who had been, quote, newly and previously implicated. What did it mean for a person to be implicated?
I do not get your question. Please put it again.
Yes, my question is, in paragraph 5, indicates that targets included, quote, those newly and previously implicated by the enemy. What did it mean for a person to be implicated by the enemy?
I personally do not understand the issue. I did not know about the new and the old force. In fact, in my unit, there was no new force. And here they refer to the old and the new force, and I do not get it. I did not really understand what he talked about when he refers to the old and the new force.
Let's turn back for a moment to Comrade Khao Saroon, the former regiment secretary who was accused of moral offenses. In your second OCIJ interview, and this is E3/84 at Khmer 00398513, English 00408395, and French 00434422. You made the following statement, quote, Khao Saroon, quote, was called to Phnom Penh by the Central Committee and disappeared right away, end of quote. Was it common when division cadres were purged or arrested that they would be called to Phnom Penh?
In that statement, I meant that while I was in Phnom Penh, there was a telegram regarding Cao Sarun's misconduct of moral offense. I had no idea as to how Cao Sarun was arrested, but it is my opinion that he had been arrested due to his moral offense, and for such offense that person would disappear.
After Khao Sarun was called to Phnom Penh and disappeared, did you learn that you had been implicated by him?
After I returned to Bang Konsai, I met my commander who told me that I could stay there and I would have no problem. Cao Sarun and Son implicated me. For that reason, I was assigned to work at Bang Konsai. At that time, I myself did not know why they implicated me, and of course, it was my concern after the disappearance of Cao Sarun. I thought that it would not be long before I would be taken away. Because upon my return, I was assigned to work about 4 or 5 days walk from my previous location. But then nothing happened until the event in Phnom Penh took place. So it was my conclusion that he was arrested because of that offense. That is all.
You indicated that you were told by Division Secretary Sarun that you had been implicated by 2 people, one Khao Sarun and a second person named Son. Can you tell us who Son was and what his position was in Division 801?
Previously, Son did not work with Cao Sarun, but after the formation of Division 801, he worked in that division and he was in charge of logistics. He was in Regiment 82 in charge of logistics.
Thank you. Did Division Secretary Sarun show you the confessions of Khao Sarun and Son, or did he just tell you that you had been implicated by them?
He did not show me any confession. He told me that when we met, so he just told me that the situation was not that good and that I just returned from Phnom Penh because I had been implicated. Of course, I would not deny that because they had been with me for quite some time, so probably I was the person that they would implicate in their response.
Mr. President, I'd like to show the witness now a S-21 prisoner list that includes a number of Division 801 cadres that I would like him to identify if he can. This is a document D108/26.86, and in particular Khmer ERN 0009293 through 0009302, which is a S-21 prisoner list titled Names of Prisoners Smashed on 9 December 1977. If I can present that to the witness, I'd like him to identify a few of the names on the list.
President, yes, you can proceed. Court officer, could you deliver the document from the prosecutor for the witness examination?
In this document, Mr. Witness, I'd like you to look at Khmer page 00009298. The corresponding English page is 00873-622. And in particular at prisoners numbers 183 through 191 on this list, who are identified as from Division 801. And first, number 189 on this list is a person identified as Khao Saroon alias Seng, a member of Division 801 who entered S-21 in May 1977. Can you tell us whether Seng was a name that was also used by Khao Saroon?
As I stated earlier, Khao Saroon could have been arrested a few days after I saw the message. And of course, Khao Saroon had another name, that is Seng. I even knew his house.
Number 184 on this list is a individual named Tuch Son, identified as a deputy of Regiment 82 who entered S-21 on the 7th of May 1977. Is this the same person named Son from Regiment 82 who you were told had implicated you?
As I said, Tucson was in charge of logistics in the regiments that I was in.
And looking at the other Division 801 cadres on this list, from numbers 183 through 191, can you tell us whether there are any other people who you knew who are on this list?
President, court officer, could you assist the witness? Instruct him to only focus on the number mentioned by the co-prosecutor. Allow me to respond to this question. The people I knew who were from my units were the only two that I said earlier, that is Son and Kasarun. The rest were also from Division 801, but they came from different regiments.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'd now like to show the witness a portion of the S-21 confession of Khao Sarun. This portion was shown to him in his OCIJ interview, and it contains an annotation by Doik that he was asked about in his OCIJ interview. I'd like to present that to the witness and ask him some further questions about it. It's document D267/2.2 at Khmer page 00414996, English 0078315. With your leave, I'd like to present the document to the witness.
President, yes, you may proceed.
The only part of this document that I would like you to look at is the handwritten note that is on the cover page of Khao Sarun's confession, which contains a handwritten note dated the 5th of June, 1977, from Doik to respected brother, which states as follows, quote, "When asked about the situation in the unit of A. Khao Sarun, he reported that there were up to 58 people embedded in his traitorous network in Division 801, some of whom were Chaum, Lem, Nat, Tan, Khao Narong alias Bav, who have already been removed to the base." End of quote. The date of this note by Doik reporting that up to 58 people in Division 801 had been implicated by Khao Sarun is the 5th of June, 1977. In relation to that date, can you tell us when it was that you were informed by Division 801 Secretary Sarun that you had been implicated by Khao Sarun?
Regarding this document, and that Kasarun implicated a number of people, I only knew one of them, that is Chaum. If the implication involved members of my regiment, that would not be possible because our regiment was far from his location. So I would say that the 50 or so people whom he had implicated were those within his regiment.
We've talked already about how you were informed by your division secretary that you had been implicated by Khao Saroon. Do you remember the month and year when you were informed of this?
I cannot recall it. However, it could be in late 1977.
Mr. President, at this time I'd like to show another S-21 confession to the witness that contains an annotation relating to Division 801. And this is document D43/4, Annex 22. And the annotation regarding Division 801 appears at Khmer page 00173999, English 00224628, and French 00271447, if I may present that to the witness.
President, yes, you may proceed.
Mr. Witness, once again, the only part of this document that I want you to look at is the handwritten annotation or note that appears on the cover page. This is the cover page of a confession of a Division 502 cadre named Sur Tun, alias Mao. But it contains a handwritten note from Q to Comrade Roon, dated 2nd of June 1977, which note states, quote, "Dear Comrade Roon, please read this report of Mao and pick out the relevant names of Unit 801. Point 2, I will help you tomorrow as I'm busy this afternoon." End of quote. Now, you've talked to us about the occasion where Saroon informed you that you had been implicated in 2 confessions. Do you recall any other occasions where Saroon made statements about confessions he had received or other persons who had been implicated in the division?
As indicated earlier, I only knew the 2 of those people who had been implicated, and I did not know the rest.
Did you know, or did Saroon tell you how it was that he had received these confessions, or how it was he had learned that you had been implicated by Khao Saroon?
I am not sure why I had been implicated. However, he told me that I had been implicated by Khao Saroon. And Khao Saroon, Son and I stayed together for quite a long time. And I did not know whether he had with him the confession that implicated me. However, again, it is possible that he could have that confession with him. That's why he knew that I had been implicated, despite all the secrecy around the confessions or the arrest. And that's all he told me, that I had been implicated, that I should try to work hard and not to go freely anywhere. And I stayed at that location until the event took place later on. Once again, he did not have any document with him when he told me about the implication that was made against me. And he also said that he was no longer sure of the situation, as he had been known by many people. He was rather concerned as well about his situation. And at that time, when people met one another, nobody seemed to smile to one another, and we all was concerned that we could have been implicated by any of them.
Did there come a time later, after you were informed by Division Secretary Saroon that you had been implicated, did there come a time later on where you were called to go to Phnom Penh?
About 1 or 2 months after I stayed there, and after I met with Susaroon and what he told me, the telegram machine broke, and after it was fixed, the message was then decoded, and he told me that 8:70 required me to go to Phnom Penh tomorrow, that is the next day. Of course, I was concerned upon hearing that. I did not know what would happen, because if Kaiserun went to Phnom Penh and he made that fate, I was afraid that I could meet the same fate. And in fact, at that time, he showed me the decoded message in plain text that I was required to go. And while I arrived at Stung Trai, a plane was waiting for me. And while I was at Kon Mom, I saw a division vehicle approaching me, and I was told that I had to return back immediately to Bang Konsai, as the brother was waiting for me. And upon my return, the brother said that the situation was not that good, and that I should not go to Phnom Penh, and I should stay put with him. Later on, I went ahead for about half a kilometer, then all broke loose as the attack was on. President, thank you, the witness and the co-prosecutor. Today's hearing has come to an end. We shall now adjourn the proceeding, and we will resume tomorrow morning. That is Thursday, starting from 9 a.m. For tomorrow, we will continue to hear the testimony of this witness. And we have a reserve witness, that is TCW 100. Mr. Ong Ram, the hearing of your testimony has not yet concluded, and it will continue tomorrow. You are therefore invited to return tomorrow morning, starting from 9 a.m. Court officer, in cooperation with visual unit, please assist this witness to return to his residence and have him return tomorrow morning to this courtroom at 9 a.m. Security guards, you are instructed to take the three accused back to the detention facility and have them return to the courtroom tomorrow morning prior to 9 a.m. As for Ieng Sari, take him through the holding cell downstairs with the audio-visual facility for him to follow the proceeding. The court is now adjourned.